Hey there, Internet. Well, I just went out and picked up this vise I bought at an auction. It's got square sides, which means that you can stick it up on the end. It's got strange chips all over it. It's got some rust. For some reason, the vise jaws or screws are not really in there. I don't know why. Uh, this is weird. I don't know why that's sticking out. So I'm gonna try to see if this is a piece of garbage or not. So here's the before shot. Hopefully the after will not have it sitting in the scrap bin. Well, if my hands are any indication, and I just cleaned them, there was a lot of shit in this vise. It's led a hard life, this vise. It had some issues. So I didn't, I literally I took the first video and I hadn't even inspected it. I hadn't even really tried to turn the handle except with my hand. I noticed that this jaw was like all cockeyed, um, and I noticed that the um, the nut block or whatever you call this. This has got the angle on it for the ang lock. It was sticking way out of the side here, and I'm not sure if that's because this is a different part. It's possible that they made a new end for this. They're really not hard to make. Just looking at the material, it does look slightly different. It's not the same width as the rest of the body. And I have a feeling they either made a shorter one so that they could get more jaw travel, or maybe something else. This could still be the original. I'm not really sure. It's a real good fit on the old keyway. Um, Nothing is marked on the vise. You see how this is mushroomed out? That's real surprising to me. I don't even know how that would happen. Anyway, so the nuts were also off of this. They were not bolted in, and I don't know why. They were just kind of like hand screwed in there, and this was tight up against here, and this was sticking out. And when I tried to turn the handle, there was no turning of the handle at all. Um, I I grabbed a wrench, I kicked it, I hit it with a hammer, I hit it with a mallet, I hit it with a dead blow hammer. Uh, I mean, I was getting so frustrated that I was just, I was like, if I break it, who cares? Now, how I can break something this massive, I don't know. But anyway, I gave it a lot of tries, and it would not move. So then the next thing I did is I took off this jaw, and again, remember this was pushed back together. So I pulled this jaw off, and the way that I did that, again, the top bolts were only hand bolted. There's two bolts that run in from the bottom through these holes, and they enter up through here. So these guys, and these are metric bolts. Now that's important in just a moment. So they come up there, and these are 12.9, which I believe is a metric designation, and they fit my 10 millimeter. They fit like a 10 millimeter bolt. So anyway, so then I pulled these faces off, and I started to get a little bit suspicious because they were so tight on there, it was completely ridiculously over tightened. Then I came around here, and this was all jammed up with chips. And I came around here, and this one was all cockeyed. Couldn't figure that out. So I popped one of them off that was ridiculously over tight, and then the other one, it wasn't really tight at all. And so when I looked at the bolts, you can see that they are not the same thread. So I guess it's a common mistake but this is a 3/8 bolt, and this is a 10mm bolt. The hole in here is a 10mm hole. So they put the wrong fasteners in the hard jaws here, and that maybe doesn't even go in there right. I haven't tried to re-thread it yet. I think they boogered the threads all up, so I might have to deal with that. And I'm gonna give it one more go. No, it's going in. I think maybe this hole may be wrong. All right, so anyway, to continue the story. So then I got that off, and I found more chips. I cleaned more chips out of here. I have this like pretty massive steel table. It's I think it's 5/16 steel, and there's a big, I want to say that's a 10-inch piece of round pipe. I mean, this is a heavy-duty table. I put 2 clamps on that, and I just started beating on it. So I beat on it for a while, and I beat on it for a while. And what I noticed was the end here, the nut housing, I could rock it around a little bit. But no matter what I did down at this end, I mean literally no matter what I did, I could not get any turning at all of the shaft. I mean it was just nothing. Hit it with a dead blow hammer as hard as I could. Didn't feel like this was rotating at all. So I squirted in kerosene in this oiler, and I got kerosene everywhere. I soaked it down with kerosene. And so the last resort was really taking heat. So I took a propane torch and spent about 5 minutes, heated the whole thing up, and I had taken these nuts out. I also couldn't get this nut off. And I heated it up really good, and then I couldn't really figure out how to get a super fantastic amount of force on this thing. I probably could have used this. This is the wrench to my other vise, and I just realized after I had done all this that it was 19mm and fits perfectly. But anyway, back to the story. So what I did is I grabbed this guy. Now look at the. I just want you to look at the comparison. This was the second vise that I got. Okay. I mean, the top the non-fixed jaw is it's bigger than this. It weighs more than this. It's unbelievable, just that one component. So this vise is just absolutely massive. But what I did is I put this sucker on there, and I used it like a big old wrench. So I had it about like that, and I started beating on it with the dead blow hammer, and then I heated it up some more, and then I hit it with the dead blow hammer, and I noticed that it had just moved just a little bit. So I flipped this around to the other side and whacked it about as hard as I could a few more times with it clamped to the steel table, and the sucker broke loose. So it actually broke loose this way. So it broke loose tightening. And that was also super confusing. So at this point, I don't even know what happened, because I got to get my other wrench again. I don't quite understand what happened to it, because, I mean, it's working great. Now, I've clamped it, but I haven't really torqued it down, and maybe something's off and just got wedged, or the shaft does not look bent. It's not there's no wobble in that. The ways down here where this rides underneath there's a way on this side and on this side, they actually seem pretty decent. Obviously, I don't know if they use this in a press or a drill press, or, I mean, this thing's had some crashes and collisions. These look like drill holes. So maybe, I don't know, I just don't understand what happened to this vise. But I was definitely fearing for a moment that it was going to be junk, and I'd have to somehow cut off the shaft to just be able to use some of the components. But anyway, it's working. $50, and I got whatever 40 or 50 pounds of steel vise working. and I have to clean it up. I mean, obviously, if I had a surface grinder, I'd just redo this whole surface. I do not have a surface grinder, so I don't know. I may lap it on the surface plate with some sandpaper. Um, I mean, I guess I could even put it in the milling machine and just surface this down. I'll have to take some measurements and see. It feels a little bit low right there, just with my finger, but maybe my finger's not very smart. So I'll do that, and then I gotta. I don't know if I'm gonna keep these jaws or make some aluminum ones. Um, yeah, but for $50, I'm glad I was able to save this thing. It's had a long life, and hopefully I can give it some more life here. Oh, one more thing to point out, and this may have led to the fact that they weren't able to fix this. So the way that these work, I'll just take it off real quick, so in case you haven't seen one of these. Yeah, by the way, I've got this knot tight. I'm afraid that if this somehow slips and clamps in here, there's a thrust washer inside of here in the shoulder, and this pushes up against that. But all the clamping force goes just one way back against the thrust washer. There's no thrust washer on this side. I think what happened is this slipped when they were maybe redoing something, and it put so much clamping pressure on there that they couldn't undo it. But anyway. So I'll just demonstrate real quick how this works, and then I'll explain the problem that I think they probably had. Let's see if here we go. So there's a little ball interface that goes up into a little ball hole, kind of a ball-shaped hole there, and that's what this angle piece pushes on. So that ball is what's going to interface with the rear jaw of the vise. And the way that this is clamped on is there's just a set screw that just pushes this in here, and then it's trapped because it cannot pull up. So the problem was I pulled the set screw out and it did nothing. I got a couple screwdrivers in there and I was beating it and prying it. I could not get this rear jaw off. And then I thought to myself, I wonder if there's another set screw in there. And there was. So this was double set screwed. And one of the reasons that maybe nobody tried to fix it is whoever was doing it had just loosened the set screw and they could feel it loose. It was slightly loose. And they just couldn't get it off, so they gave up and they never checked for that second set screw. So here's my little micro mill. That vise is bigger than my entire, like all of this, like the whole, the whole T-slot plate and vise, and all this down here is bigger than all that. It's crazy. So here it is on my mill. And you can see that it's sticking out about, it's over twice as long as the table is wide. And you can see that the width of the thing, is this really a 6-inch vise? The roller doesn't lie, it is a 6-inch vise. Here's a 5-inch vise. This is the one that I use all the time. I really like this vise. But I mean this, holy smokes. I mean, this is that's a manly thing. It's a solid, it's just solid. You could hit that with a sledgehammer and I don't think much would happen. That is big. Now the problem with this is, obviously if I put it on my vise, I'd probably wear my ways out like really quick. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with this yet, but for $50, I mean, I'm sure I can figure something out. I mean, I could literally probably make a whole machine out of it. I could probably replace the whole lower half of that thing with this. Put some linear rails up on there. It would make a nice little machine base. But I just want to give you a glimpse of my least favorite thing in the world compared to this. Here it is. The most worthless tool I own, the Schar's 2-inch toolmaker's vise, where no matter what you do, this never goes in a way that works. I hate this thing. It literally never, it's more trouble to use than any other tool that I've ever owned. But let me just show you. So it's almost eaten by this thing. I mean, it just kind of disappears in there. Put it up on the side here. Maybe I can just crush it into dust with this monster. I do want to point out that I did, in just reassembling the thing, I was driving this screw in, and this screw is long. And what happened, I think, is they must have driven this screw in while this was in the wrong spot and wedged this. And then when they were trying to get the thing unwedged, not realizing that this screw was clamping this in place, they must have done something down at this end ridiculous and seized the whole thing up. So that's my guess on what they did here. Anyway, back to my other description. So anyway, that's my story of the vise. I also bought a steel cart for $25 because I want to put my CNC machine on it to make an enclosure. And I told the guy, I said, I'm going to pick the vise up today. The vise was $50 and the cart was 25. I went over. He walked me in the back of their shop, and I go and look at the thing, and I go, oh, that's not too big. And then I look down below, and there's 1/4-inch plate running, like, it's 4 feet by, I want to say 50 inches, and 2 levels of 1/4-inch plate. And I just tried to lift it up a little bit. Man, I wouldn't budge. The thing probably weighs 400 pounds. So I don't know how I don't know how I'm gonna get that to my house. The guy's like, I think you're gonna need a crane. Maybe not worth the $25. Anyway, that's my vise story and my auction story. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.